So new House Press Secretary Caroline LeVate pissed off The View. She pissed them off because she said we ending wokeness and we also gonna have influencers up here that gonna ask questions. We tired of the same old people.
Lying.
We're gonna have
leftist leaning
let's have
news.
the real influence, because y'all know the influencer level is the new news. Nobody who the old television stuff. Nobody wants that now. People get better information from your local person. So let's play this clip. Look how The View gets so heated. And this is fun to me.
This lady, she runs circles around
Kareem John.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank God.
Oh my God.
Good God.
Thank you.
Our team that we share President Trump's message everywhere and adapt this White House to the new media landscape in 2025.
Come on.
This White House believes strongly in the First Amendment, so it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House. This seat in the front of the room, which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff,
that's cool,
will be called the new media seat.
Let's go.
My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex.
Let's go.
All right. What'd she say?
She basically said that they were going to give
God,
unqualified
how boring.
unqualified
Can they get
people
somebody there
jobs.
not so
Behind the Table
tedious?
podcast needs to apply for White House credentials.
Oh, they'd love having Joy in that room.
So
I got a question.
So wait a second. So in other words, instead of Bob Woodward, they want Kim Kardashian? What? I don't get it.
Wait, okay.
I have a question, which is why I was.
Why would anybody?
They didn't say that.
That's how you know you so out of touch. First of all, ain't nobody rushing to Kim Kardashian question. No, we're gonna get your Benny Johnsons in there. We're gonna get your Officer Tatums,
Your Candace
Owens. Let these
What's my
people
other
do
guy?
the talking.
Charlie Kirk.
Your Charlie Kirks, the ones that really gonna hammer.
Come on. Your Lou Valentinos.
Your Lou.
This direction. Yeah, I would like this young lady this is her first job. I would like her to do a little homework because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Child, please.
That's not true.
Please.
Because
Child, please.
women were not invited to that table.
Oh,
Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason. Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women.
Child, please.
See, this is
How long
not
ago?
black, Asian women. This is all women. Women were not invited to this party. It was a man's world, and we busted our asses to make sure that this was a person's world. So please stop using that phrase and talking about, because you don't understand what you're saying. You're saying about yourself that
Then what you need to do is redefine what wokeness is.
There you go.
Redefine what wokeness is.
Create it new.
Because if that's what you're saying wokeness is, then okay. But if you got all this other stuff you want to attach to the wokeness and then use certain things as an excuse or reasons why you can't do something as an excuse for discrimination or whatever the situation is, no, boo. No, that's sleep. You sleep. No, we understand the women's rights type of vibe. But come on, how long ago was that? And then what was truly behind the movement? You know, let's do the real deep research. But child, please sit down somewhere. Ain't nobody on that. Ain't nobody on that.
You know, hey, that's a terrible thing to be. It's not a terrible thing to be. That's why we fought. That's what we were fighting for, so that you could stand in that podium, so that Catherine Jean-Pierre could stand at that podium. So women of all kinds of colors and ilks, wherever they came from, whatever their belief system was, they had the opportunity to bust down that door.
Don't
I
you-
just
and
wanted
by the
to
way, I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though.
Oh,
it's not her
please, she's
first
so
job. It was her
ignorant.
first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
she is
whatever
not
I'm
Capitol
saying, this is the
Secretary,
first
though.
time
Which I think
that
is an
she's been
accomplishment.
she may be, but my point is that job would not maybe have been open to her.
No, I understand. I just
without
wanted to
us.
clarify that.
Yeah.
But on the issue of the new media, because I actually think this is kind of brilliant, and I think future Democratic White Houses should do the same thing. We're realizing this election, how people consume media has drastically changed. This was the Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, Alex Cooper election. It wasn't mainstream old school media that was driving people's interest in what they were following and the stories they were. And I think this is an acknowledgement that Trump realizes this. This is a person who made his career in television.
What's to prevent those media influences from being only on his side?
Well, there will be partisans, but I think it was promising that they brought in Axios, which is mainstream, but then they brought in Breitbart, which is a right-wing outlet. And so some of the outlets that had their passes revoked when Biden came in were right-of-center outlets. I don't have a problem with partisan outlets being there as long as it's representative of both sides and you have non-biased traditional media there as well, and that it's fact-driven how they cover it.
The problem that I have with it, though, is, she's saying that these people that are going to apply will meet their criteria. We understand that their criteria is woefully deficient and unserious. I think that their real problem in this election, one
From the woman that has the Instagram full of dog pictures.
of the real problems among the many is the misinformation and disinformation that was disseminated on social media by these influencers and by these podcasters. Why are they qualified to sit in the White House briefing room and tell America what is going on with the country? Traditionally, to become a White House correspondent or to be in that briefing room, you had to have a journalism degree. Yeah. You had to have qualifications. So I guess the rise of mediocrity is here to stay.
No, not the rise of mediocrity. We're tired of nothing happening with the people you have in place. You went and got the education, but what are you doing? We're in a totally different era from the people that you said that needed the education. Now you don't need all that. Now you just need to be somebody who's paying attention to what's going on and voice your opinion.
But even more than that, you know, many people who were supposed to be, reputable news people who may have gotten degrees does not mean that you had the level of competency and you didn't walk in ethics and you didn't stand behind a certain level of values to report the news. Many people put their own opinions. They started twisting things and they weren't giving all the facts. They would leave stuff out. Why? Based on the drive and the thinking and a slant that the source wanted to provide. So no, it's very important. You don't have to have a degree to be able to be an investigative reporter and learn, how to report the news the right way. I don't agree with that, even though I do have a degree. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. And it's obvious.
I'm seeing now that Sonny was only hired just so she can disrupt to be the non-agreeable.
And what gets me is they want to tell you the reason why it is when their stuff is all tainted. That ain't the reason. How do you know that's the freaking reason?
Snapchat equivalent to the New York Times.
No, but you guys are minimizing something really important here. There was a time where there were 3 evening broadcasts for news. Yes. Everyone sat down around the TV and they watched these 3 news outlets.
True.
Now you look at where people consume news. 54% of American adults say they get news from social media. A large majority of U.S. adults, 86%, say they get at least some of their information. If you don't want mis and disinformation, which is inevitable obviously with this administration, but if you want to go directly to the source and have people receive it themselves and put it out to their audiences, I'd rather have them in that room. And influencers are not just the Kardashians. They're also the Brene Browns. Mm-hmm. You've got podcasts like Pod Saves America. There are people that only consume their news from other...
Come on, disrupt
and I do think that there are a lot of Americans who do feel like the mainstream media got a lot wrong in recent years. And while there are editorial standards, I don't think that we can definitively say, because you have this degree and you're with this outlet, you've never gotten news information wrong.
Well, I will say this. I feel a lot better when I know there are standards people have to meet.
Yeah. Of course.
And so you can bring in whoever you want. The proof will be in the pudding. Mm-hmm. We can stand and say this is terrible, but so we're gonna wait and see what happens. And the minute it turns out to be state-run television or state-run information or state-run news. Because, you know, I disagree that people got stuff wrong. I don't know what people were looking for, because the people I talked to were not looking for the things that these folks were looking for. And now that they've got him, are they getting what they want? So that's just my my opinion.
But even on the media front, we haven't gotten to this real quickly this week. The CIA came out and said that COVID very likely came from a lab leak. And the New York Times shut down coverage of that. They wouldn't publish an op-ed by a senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, saying that this was a credential theory. At the time I was at DOD and that was openly discussed, is a very real possibility.
Confidence by the CIA.
There is a fact that the media at times has gotten things wrong.
Listen,
so
it isn't about whether they get it wrong or right. It's what they do to correct it. That's the problem.
That does matter. Yeah.
Well, that's what I.
Oh my God, you can't help some of these. Some of them got a little bit more brain power working than some of them.
And it is, you know, not just the fact of them misreporting. It's the fact that they intentionally withheld information and did not tell you everything because they wanted you to perceive the information a certain way. That is why people have lost faith and don't want to hear from these janky reporters who have a hidden agenda because of their own personal views. That's not what the news is supposed to be about. It was never that. They're supposed to inform the people with facts and information based off of their level of findings. Then you give the people the option to choose to say yay, nay, whatever, but you tell the truth at all costs because that's your right and that's your duty, and they stop doing that. That's why I'm so glad that they're doing that. Come on.
I don't have nothing.
I said my 2 cents. I mean, I cannot stand that show. I can't wait till they just keep getting them lawsuits so they can get off of there because they just ridiculous.
2025, the best time to be alive. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe.